What's up, everyone? It's Alfie, and today I'm going to be covering a topic that I should have covered a long time ago, and that's basically my stance on the furry community as a whole and where exactly I land in between it. So, first off, I'd like to pay my respects to my boy Nocturnal. Oh my god, man. That's where this entire video idea sort of came from, and I'm sort of bouncing off of what he said in his video. So, let's just go over the basics first, because I don't feel like dealing with hearing stuff that's incorrect in the comments down below. So, what exactly are furries? Furries are a large group of people, mostly dwelling on the internet, who enjoy anthropomorphic animals in any facet you could imagine. Animals that you see in TV shows, things like that. Characters that we create ourselves is a large portion of it as well, and which, you know, as you would probably know, are called our personas and stuff like that. And there's a whole thing along that line. There's a lot of art that's created, and a lot of what most people like to think are the only thing that furries are, fursuits and fursuiters, even though that only makes up about, I think, 15% of furries in general. Now, who exactly hates furries? Well, everyone. Everyone hates furries. You got weebs that hate furries, the general public tends to hate furries, and fuck, furries hate furries, like myself. Furries tend to be really annoying sometimes, and I kind of hate them too, but like, it's weird. It's a weird way that I stand, which is why I have to make this video to begin with. What's the reason for all this hate? I mean, there's a lot of good reason for all the hate, but at the same time, there isn't. There's all these incidents that are always happening across conventions and stuff. I mean, I don't even think I want to get into them, but I'll mention a few of them. There was the bong incident. There was the pizza incident. There was a diaper incident. There was a lot of really weird shit that has happened revolving around furries, and the weird shit that they can be into sometimes, and that's why people tend to really hate them. Another thing that is commonly associated with furries is, how do I bluntly say this, bestiality and zoophilia.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
But that's not really that's not what furries stand for. The general public tends to see furries as people that like to have sex with animals, but that's not really the case at all. There are people that have sex with animals that identify as furries, but all of the community doesn't agree with that. Furries don't like to fuck animals. That's a whole different community that likes to inject itself in with furries, but that's not the case at all. And that's where a lot of the stigma comes from the public side of things. Now, internally, it's going to come back to that whole thing with the weird kinky shit that happens and all that other stuff that is a large reason why people don't like furries, or people that know about the culture don't like furries, such as furries themselves, weebs, and other internet personalities of sorts. And honestly, it's all extremely understandable. I mean, that's why I'm with it in a way. I don't tend to really like to associate with furries, because a lot of the time they can be very cringe and have really weird takes on things. Furries, sort of along the lines of weebs, really like to, how do I say this? They like to do a bit of trolling. This can be in any sort of way, by saying outlandish shit to just being extremely fucking cringe. I don't even have to start with the examples that I can show you here. Jesus Christ, man, there's a whole fucking subreddit dedicated to this shit. Even though it's sort of been taken over by furries now, that's a weird thing in itself. While a lot of that hate is validated, at the same time, it's not really fair, because that tends to be a lot of the outliers of the community. There's a few people here and there that do really stupid shit, and the thing is that the people that do that stupid shit, those incidences blow up, and it's what everyone sees furries as, and it's really unfortunate that that shit happens, because that's what ends up with that's how these hate groups form. That's how you have people that are furries that hate furries, but it's just a lot, man. And the fact that these small little incidences are always being blown out of proportion and, you know, being shown as, oh, all furries are like this, is the reason why so many people hate furries and why furries are such a negative topic to talk about to this day. Now, where I stand on the whole being a furry situation, because in stream I've gone off and said things like, oh, I'm not a furry, but I am a furry, or I'm a furry, but I don't like to associate with furries, or I'm not a furry, but I always have like these weird things to say about how I feel on the furry community, or how I stand, or where I stand, or if I even am a furry. And to get this completely straight, I'm just going to say it right now. Yes, I am a furry. I have quite a bit of art. My channel is basically based around it. Do I make it my entire personality? No, because that's not my style. It's just what I am. It's not who I am, if that makes sense. Not that I identify as a furry. I'm human. That's another thing that's sort of misconstrued as a stereotype. But no, I am a furry. However, I tend to not really associate with furries because a lot of the time that can bring some really negative stigma. And honestly, a lot of that stuff is pretty cringe. A lot of the furries that I run into nowadays are pretty cringe. Don't get me wrong, I have the few groups that I hang out with because they're genuinely decent people. But for me at least, it's hard to find furries that are genuinely decent people, because a lot of the people that I come across nowadays fit into that stereotype, and when they know that you're a furry, they're okay with doing it, but I'm still not really okay with it. People are just cringe and weird sometimes. However, that doesn't exactly mean that I hate all furries. The furry friends that I do have, I love them to death, man. They're some of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. So it's really weird how I stand. I'm really mixed on the issue, but at the same time, I'm like all for it, but I'm not for it at the same. It's really complicated where I stand exactly. But to validate things, yes, I'm a furry, and yes, I do identify as part of the community or whatever. But I don't really talk to as many people as I used to, and I don't really give back to the community. I don't do things for furry related reasons exactly. I don't make furry related content. I don't make furry related content, and I don't really do anything that specifically helps the community in any way at all, because it's just not something that I'm that into. I'm not dedicating my entire life, my entire channel to the furry community, because that's not my entire life. It's only a small portion of my life. And to the people that make art and that make fursuits and stuff and live off of it, good on you, because you're fucking talented as shit. And don't let people tell you that you're entirely wrong with that and that you're wasting your efforts and all this other stuff, because oh my god, bro, I fucking love you, man. I love you so much. And while I understand that the furry hate comes from somewhere that does exist, a lot of the time that stuff is only by small individuals that blow things up and allow themselves to get all this attention, and it heavily takes away from what the furry community genuinely stands for. And it's really unfortunate. So at the same time, we really should stop with the whole stereotype bullshit and give out some more information to the public that's more useful and actually real, so that people can really start understanding what furries are for. You see, there's this problem that goes around where people don't want to identify with furries at all. Me, myself, I have my best group of friends that support me and love me, and none of them are furries. However, whenever I'm invited to a Discord server of friends of their friends, I'm always kicked within 24 hours or banned within 24 hours, just for the simple fact that I have a furry profile picture. Like, I'll even hang out with some of the people that are in there, and I'll have a good time and stuff, and people will realize, oh wait, this guy isn't that bad, and then I'm still kicked the next day because some random other moderator comes by and just is like, yeah, no, why is there a furry in our fucking Reddit? Or why is there a furry in our fucking Discord, man? And I wish we could get the idea across that not all furries are shitty people or kinky motherfuckers that are super fucking weird, or people that do all this outlandish shit, so that we could actually have, you know, some discourse and get somewhere. And that we could, like, the problem is the community doesn't want to associate with other people because they're all tight-knit and shit, but the thing is, the same thing goes with everyone else. No one wants to associate, so there's no discourse happening, and because of that, nothing's changing. And furries are still seen as really weird people that you don't want to associate with, even though that's not the case a lot of the time. So my message to you at the end of the day is that you should really take a second. If you see a furry out in the wild, please don't just automatically assume that they're a shitty person. I mean, you can find out, if you find out they're a shitty person, fair enough. But if that's not the case, please don't automatically assume that they fuck animals, or that they do this, or they do that, or they're kinky ass motherfuckers, because that tends to not be the case. Furries are a different breed. I shouldn't say that. Furries are an interesting group of people. And while there are a few outliers that do some really outlandish shit, just like how there is in any other community ever, Rick and Morty, Weebs, any TV show community that you could possibly think of, there's people in there that do some outlandish shit and are really fucking weird, and just, you don't want to associate with people. But that's not everyone in the particular fandom. It's just a few outliers, and it's always the few outliers that really ruin the community for the public eye, and it's really unfortunate, because a lot of the time that just doesn't tend to be the case. And that's the thing, man. It's just that all the bad shit that happens tends to get way more attention than the good shit that happens, and that's like the real problem, if we're being honest here. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. I'm not trying to tell you to be a furry, but whenever you see furries out in their natural habitat, just do yourself and everyone else a favor and don't just continue to bash on them and make all these stereotypes and assumptions about them, because at the end of the day, they're just a human being like you are, and we're just trying to get by. And hey man, who knows, maybe you can sit down, have a chat with them, and go find yourself a really good friend. That's all I wanted to say for now. You guys have a great rest of your day, and thank you for stopping by and taking a listen.
You playing some GTA for the cam? Yeah, that's sick.